Okay, so welcome to a very spontaneous episode of Universal Astrology. My name is Lee Bowden, and I'm here with my website here is universalastrology.live. I am pretty stoked because we've just had very little kind of excitement in the solar space weather department lately, but today there is a CME that has happened a couple of days ago that is expected to hit today and tomorrow, and then we have a super fast solar um, wind coming in too. So I just get all gooey about this stuff. Now I appreciate the Space Weather Woman. She does a fantastic program here on her channel. Her name is Tamthasco. Thank you for everything you taught me and everybody else. So go ahead and go over there and watch a really good professional review about what's going on this week and in full. I'm just going to highlight some of this and you can go learn about it more. One thing I find really interesting is the geoelectric field map. It's already going crazy. This is updated really often, moment to moment, so we can see that this is definitely affecting us. I'm sure if I was to check some outage boards, I'd see that, but it's definitely here. So pretty cool. What we're seeing on this is the CME happen on the 9th and then the 10th, and on the 11th it's going to start getting to us, and we're going to be going through this until the 12th. I haven't looked over here, but this is an official CME scoreboard that professionals can only access or change and input to. So this is going here on the 9th. It was associated with an eruption that followed a M1.6 class flare from this spot here, 2882. This launched on the 9th at 0633 UTC time. Yeah. Yeah, 6:33. So predicted shock arrival on the 11th at different times here and the 12th. There's another one on the 6th that was expected yesterday and today. And I bet you that's part of what we're seeing here, is that there was another predating this and also a flare that was associated with this on the 9th. This is just showing us parts of today. Super cool. So these are going to be earthquakes recently. Hawaii did have, I think I saw this morning, a notification. I haven't even looked at it yet, for 6.2. There it is. And that's pretty significant for over there. Yeah. Oh, there's been a bunch, it looks like. Yeah, here's the 6.2 that was on the 10th. Now, I do, along with others, think that with this solar energy impact, that with all this extra energy, we will see more activity than we already have been in the next couple of days, particularly from volcanoes and things like La Palma that has started almost a month ago now, if you can believe that. I've been watching the Bushcraft Bear almost on a regular, and that's been really entertaining. I'm super thankful for him and his channel. So just things to be aware of. Volcanic activity report for this week definitely does show new activity in La Palma and several others, including activity in the Hawaii Islands. Okay, so eyes open, no fear, as Ben Davidson would say, yeah? So this also started shortly after La Palma. Actually, I think it was around the same day that these started. Let's see, start on the September 29th. This on the 29th as well. So that's really interesting. Now, if you haven't already yet, a cool person to follow for, I think, earthquake or earthquake, really. Volcano.
This thing doesn't have a lid. It's a lid.
Okay.
I don't see it.
Well, you're gonna have to look harder. Look in the basket and stuff. So, Duchess is, in my opinion, is an awesome person to watch for earthquakes. Makes it darn entertaining. So I see 2 large earthquakes. He's already covered this in Hawaii, so I'm sure that's great. There's just so much. We'll show a little bit more of this CME that's occurred here, because it's just boom. This is the M1.6 flare that was associated with that spot.
My bouncy ball.
Okay, I'll be done in a few minutes, Charlie. And there it is again. Boom! I just get so stoked about this type of stuff. Here is a GIF that they've put out that's been used. I've seen quite a lot. That's a good representation of the kind of protection that we have from our electromagnetic shell around us that protects us from all this stuff. So obviously this is my my Twitter page. I pretty much dedicate this to astronomy, space weather, the planets, that kind of stuff. Also earthquakes and things like that when they come up. Since I am into astrology, what I do find really interesting is if I go back a couple of days, I'll bring up solar system scope for us as well, so we can see this in 3D. And then when we look at it in a chart form, it becomes a little easier to recognize. I'll turn on constellations in the background so we can see the names sheet, if you will. So in a heliocentric chart, we would put the sun in the middle, but most astrology is done right with the Earth at the center, so just keep that in mind. We do have a Earth, Mercury, Sun, Mars lineup here, and from the Sun's perspective, Mars is in Virgo, and if we go this direction, right? So if we were to cast a Mars-centered chart, we, as Earth, would be sitting in Pisces, which is a really interesting thing, right? These are always the opposite. So that's the balance between the Virgo and the Pisces. So in this case, Mars is acting closer to Virgo energy, and we are acting more towards the Piscean energy. So take that for what it is, esoterically speaking. Here in the middle of those two, of course, though, we have the Mercury Sun lineup. So when we see this in 3D, we're going to see all these Mercury, Sun, Mars lined up in what we call that is a conjunction. That alignment is called a conjunction. So what I can tell you is that the Sun has just completely blocked out Mars. So if we consider Mars in an esoteric way or astrology way, the Sun is completely taken over Mars. We can have no sight or connection, if you will, with our Mars nature, which would be things like our ego, our courage, our bravery, our will to do things. So watch out for that. If you feel that you have lost control, that you do not have a choice, that might be particularly the case with this conjunction. The Sun is just in the middle of that completely, which is the self, interestingly enough. And in between the Sun and Mercury, which would also be hard to see Mercury because it's so small in comparison. So even if you're trying to find Mercury, which would be things like communication, the logic of things, it might be hard because, again, the Sun is in this conjunction and it's going to take it over. The outer planets here, if we were to look at this lineup in a different way, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto are still really close together. When did this lineup happen, right? Not too long ago, we were having that major conjunction where Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and Earth were all aligned in a straight line. That's when the pandemic started. So we can see that these are all, to us, moved. We've moved around a little bit. They're not in a perfect line anymore. Everything's spread out in this display. But if we look at it from another perspective, just realize that it is still lined up in the universal way of looking at things, in the galactic, if you will. So this is what it looks like in 3D here again. And we have another interesting lineup here with Venus, Earth, and Ceres. These are things that we just wouldn't see on a 2D chart. So if I go back over to this and we go a couple days ago on the 9th as to when the Sun really gave us all that energy. We don't have a lot of geometry here to really look at, but here on the 10th we do. We get that energy here, and this is how it affects us. Here's this lineup that I'm talking about over here with Virgo, and this is really big. At this moment, Mars or Moon and Uranus over here in Aries is lined up, and we also have a square happening between the Moon and Neptune. There's a lot going on that day, right? And so if we go to today and we expect that hit, where the geometry really is lining up in this is with Uranus. So I would expect a lot of change, quick change, hard change. And we also have another lineup over to Neptune, which would be towards the subconscious way of things. All right, so if we go one more day here, interesting enough, the moon is going to change up and go into the Sagittarius position. And we know it's there in Sagittarius, don't we? That's the arrow is pointing exactly towards the galactic center, or the center of the galaxy. Here, I'll show you just real quick here. We'll just have to back out and go like this. When we look from a center point of view, where's the sun? It's over here. The galactic center, the galactic sun, if you will, is pointing in that same direction. So we're going to go back in towards the sun and see where exactly is that pointing at. Oh goodness, there's Sagittarius. And right here, that's approximately where the galactic sun is. If you don't believe me, well, you just have to take my word for it now and then go Google it later. So what I do find interesting in whenever this moves over, whatever's transitioning over there, Pluto's been hanging out, going back and forth between Sagittarius and Capricorn for years. So the moon is what's coming over through this to make another triangle, which will be a bunch of squares between this moon, almost Pluto matchup over to this huge conjunction between the sun and Mars and Mercury. From our perspective, a square is a hard aspect. This will be challenging. It might be emotionally challenging for us this week to take on this energy from the universe, from the sun, and from ourselves, because as we are part of this as well, our reactions are quite interesting to what change Uranus might bring. This is going to trine over to our emotional session. So this might be an inner struggle with our emotions, but it's going to trine over to that change and make sense if we can just take in all the energy that's coming in. Again, Mars is going to be blocked out from most of this, and that's probably going to be where the challenge comes in, is you're going to have to communicate, because that's what's in front of the sun, even though it might not be very clear to do so, because the sun is shining brightly. So I think if I had any message for any spiritual people who watch astrology for esoteric means and for health reasons and things of this nature, the sun being so bright in these areas, we might be having some throat issues, and with Mars being blocked again, just keep grounded, because the energy in itself, regardless of any astrology, is hard to take on our bodies. There's just a lot of influx when that happens. I do, on a positive note, expect to see a lot of aurora. Oh, I can't spell right now. Okay. Aurora. I do expect to see some beautiful photos on this very soon. I'm not seeing any right now from this yet, but I do expect to tonight. So there is beauty to be had when you go look for it from these exact effects. All right, I'm going to call it good there. Hope you enjoy the influx of all the extra energy. As you can see, it's already here, and it's going to be here to stay, because right after that solar CME, if you go here and watch this this episode here next, she'll show you and tell you about what to expect better than I can. But after this, we do expect to have a solar stream, a wind stream come in, a coronal hole is going to come in and just blast us right after these CMEs hit. So I do expect a lot of extra energy. And in the atmosphere, to things like politics and news, there is a lot of chaos that happens. So just in natural effects, things like natural disasters. And so I would expect that the media this week might be heavy as well. So brace yourselves for all kinds of things. And good luck. I'll see you next time.